make your lips look fuller and it goes wrong, you're going to look in the mirror and you are going to cry. Even if I had it done, I wouldn't be splashed across every newspaper with it done. I could hide away. I could pick myself up in my own time. She had to pick herself up straight away, and I think she did that pretty well.
But the worst was yet to come. In 2004, Leslie and Lee fueled tabloid tales again with reports about their volatile relationship.
I was absolutely horrified when I read the stories about Leslie ending up in hospital after a supposed rough sex with her husband, Lee Chapman. I think most people thought that it wasn't the story that they said.
Leslie and Lee denied all allegations of abuse, but then tragedy struck as Leslie contracted a potentially fatal superbug, which left her paralysed. But she is now fighting back.
Well, this is a shot of Leslie about a year after that infamous Trump Out picture. As you can see here, there has been some improvement over time. Now, this may well be because the filler seems to have been absorbed by the body and things are settling down, or the other alternative is that she could have had some corrective treatment to try to bring down this swelling. And how we do this is that we usually inject some steroid into the lip to try to break down any kind of reaction by the body that took place as a result of the filler. If you look closely at her top lip here, this region between the nose and the lips seems to be much less full, much less puffy than it was before. Because the swelling has reduced, her Cupid's bow, which was quite blunted and quite distorted before in the earlier shot, has softened and come back to a more natural look, as you can see here, and all in all, giving her a more natural-looking lip.
A lot of people might think the Leslie Ashes case would damage the cosmetic industry in general, but funnily enough, that wasn't the case. In fact, a lot of patients were more and more curious. And you just sometimes wonder, you know, could anything put people off from doing whatever they want to do?
With a 200% rise in the number of patients opting for lip enhancements, it would seem not. Other high-profile trout pouts include Lynn Perry, who in 1994 left audiences gobsmacked when she had fat from her behind injected into her lips. TV bosses, however, weren't smiling and gave her the boot from Coronation Street. Pete Burns, the former frontman of pop group Dead or Alive, has changed face several times with surgery since the 80s, and his luscious collagen-enhanced smackers say that's the way he likes it. And it's not a recent phenomenon. Elizabeth I applied poisonous mercuric sulfide to her lips to plump them up, whereas it's rumoured Kylie and Caprice have achieved their 21st century pout with a little bit of collagen.
Typical Hollywood type of lip augmentation would be the pouty one, where you lose your Cupid's bow and it just becomes a very straight line. However, a lot of women would like to preserve their Cupid's bow and that nice shape they have, and just plump up a little bit of volume into the lips, because plump lips are fashionable right now.
The hottest lips in town belong to Angelina Jolie, and hers are all natural. But for the less fortunate, it seems to be nearing the big 4-0, they opt for the youth injection.
You don't really see Meg Ryan making 4 movies a year anymore because she's hit that brick wall of 40 plus. And yes, she's had plastic surgery, but you really can't have enough work done to make you 25 again. And that's really the age that Hollywood is obsessed with.
Melanie Griffith, her case is different because I think she had premature aging because of her alcohol abuse, which doesn't do any good for your skin, and married to a younger man. She was under a lot of pressure to look younger. She ended up having 2 plump lips, but luckily she never had a reaction. So with her, hopefully next time she'll be a little bit less demanding in terms of the number of injections she'll need.
Next, open wide as we explore bad British teeth and the changing gnashes of our pop stars.
This is a picture of David Bowie in 1987, and by this stage there were plenty of reports in the press about how bad his teeth were, that they were in fact rotting.
On average, women smile 62 times a day, and men only 8. And in America, Have a Nice Day is helped by a perfect smile and perfect teeth.
I think some of the most beautiful smiles are on Catherine Zeta-Jones and Julia Roberts and Michelle Pfeiffer. But if a woman walks in my office and she wants beautiful, perfect teeth, 9 times out of 10, she's holding a picture of Halle Berry.
However much we may desire the Hollywood smile, perhaps our fear of the dentist puts us off. But Americans haven't always had perfect teeth.
The first set of dentures came about the time George Washington needed them. They were wooden with porcelain facings, and they had a little spring that held them in place.
Which may explain why he was never pictured smiling, but he wasn't the only famous denture wearer.
Clark Gable was wearing dentures, and apparently it was a big problem because not only did he not keep the dentures that clean, but he also smoked and he drank. So the combination of halitosis with the cigars and the drinking made Vivien Leigh say, "I'm not going to kiss the guy." And, you know, these famous Clark Gable dimples were really a result of Clark trying to keep his dentures in his mouth.
When it comes to cosmetic dentistry, celebrities have always set trends. Tom Cruise made braces look cool, and Gwen Stefani even wore them to fashion shows. And as Americans braced themselves for the better, we Brits were getting left behind.
The reason Brits have bad teeth compared to Americans, I think that being pretty is more important in America. The emphasis in England may be to be a good person, perhaps, and they don't care that much about if there's a crooked tooth or a missing tooth or a dark or a stained tooth.
Here, if you have crooked teeth, you wear braces. And in the UK, it just wasn't that important.
In the US, the heyday of Hollywood in the 40s and 50s saw a boom in dentistry and dazzling smiles. But us Brits were less quick with the floss and fluoride, leaving the majority of today's over 65-year-olds with no teeth of their own.
But now it's starting to catch on more and more. But with the national healthcare system, if you want to have braces, it takes 3 or 4 years to get an orthodontic appointment. Well, you take a kid who's about 10 years old, by the time they're 13 or 14, they get called in. They don't want braces then. You know, they're teenagers and they don't want to wear braces. So it's just a cultural thing. I mean, when people talk about bad British teeth syndrome, you might as well just think of Austin Powers. It's just crooked, yellow teeth.
Americans can't stop grinning at our bad teeth, but compared to the million-dollar smiles in Hollywood, our stars' teeth can get change out of a fiver.
Judging from the picture of Janet Street Porter's teeth, it looks like one of the more complicated cases that I've ever seen in my life. Either her teeth are too big or her face is too small, or the mouth is too small and the teeth are too big. It just doesn't present itself right. It just doesn't look good.
But the worst teeth in the world belong to the Pogue's Shane MacGowan. Years of alcohol abuse have left his teeth rotting and few and far between. But thankfully on this side of the pond, we are now finally biting the bullet and smartening up our smiles. Noel Gallagher reportedly paid £10,000 in 1998 to have his front teeth transformed with veneers and porcelain crowns, whereas brother Liam spent a small fortune replacing his 2 front teeth after his old ones were knocked out in a fight. And they aren't the only rockers to have improved their bite.
Ronan Keating was a big pop star, and in fact, his manager told him, if you want to make it in America, you've got to get veneers.
As a result, Ronan spent a rumoured 20 grand on straightening, capping and bleaching his teeth. He may now crack a nice smile, but he still hasn't cracked America.